Good afternoon, everyone. Looks like it's about time for us to get started for today's webinar, focusing on Roommate and CDM Plus, Smarter Facilities Management. My name is Alex Clay, and I am the CEO here at Saran Systems. We make CDM Plus, among some other things. I am joined today by several members of our team: Julianne Manning, our product specialist; Sherry Snedden, our support manager; Jennifer Nelson, our Tier 3 support tech; Chris Widener in our marketing team. You heard Chris a minute ago, and Eli Turner from our sales team. This webinar is another in our 2024 series that we're calling Discover What's Possible. And this webinar for Roommate is perhaps one of the best examples of this approach, which is to just show you some of the things that are possible with CDM Plus. We've had a number of great webinars so far on check and check out, on doing data cleanup, bank reconciliations, event registration, and we have a number of additional webinars scheduled throughout this year. I encourage you to go to cdmplus.com/discover2024 and sign up for as many webinars as you're interested in. Again, if you can make it or not, we'll send you the link to the recording. And these are a great way just to learn more about what CDM Plus has to offer. As Chris mentioned ahead of the presentation, we are currently taking registrations for our annual users conference. This will be the 24th conference we've done in our history. It will be here in Lexington, Kentucky, which is where I'm based. And I will do my very best to make all the right prayers and supplications that we'll have a little bit cooler weather than we're having right now. Last week of September is generally a beautiful time to come visit. Registration is going great. If you're considering attending, I encourage you to register sooner rather than later to make sure you get a spot. We have early bird pricing that is available through the end of July, which I don't know if you can believe it. I can't. That's only a scant 6 weeks away or so. We have 2.5 days of comprehensive training, including a class on Roommate, where I'll be doing a much deeper dive and some actual training to kind of show you how to use Roommate specifically. But there's a great set of options. Go online, check it out, and we'd love to see you in Lexington. So what exactly is Roommate? Well, Roommate is a separate program in CDM Plus, just like membership or accounting or registration is a separate program. It is something that you need to add to your CDM Plus suite. You may have it already. If you're wondering whether or not you have Roommate, you can message in the chat, and Eli and our sales team can take a look, or give us a call or shoot us an email over in the sales at cdmplus.com address. And we'll be happy to say, hey, do you have this? What would it cost to add? It's very, very affordable. You can give it a try and see if it's a good fit for your organization. Roommate has one primary integration into the rest of CDM Plus, which is into the accounting program for billing. So if you have a space that you rent out, or if you're hosting a number of events, say for weddings or meeting space, you can record those events in Roommate, connect them over to customers and accounts receivable, and generate invoices through the standard receivables portion of CDM Plus accounting. You can send people links to pay those online and essentially run the whole thing through CDM Plus, and it ties together very, very well. Roommate essentially tracks sort of three core areas, record types or different pieces of information. Rooms, which can be physical space, such as an actual room. It could be a vehicle, such as a van, or it could be a person. So you could have something, a room for each of your staff. For example, at Saran, we use Roommate to track all of our staff calendars. So when people are going to be in and out, we have different events going on, and we have rooms for each person on our staff, as well as some other things like holidays or training events like the users conference or these webinars. We also have in Roommate something we call resources, and these are generally assets. They could be generally physical assets, and you can track things such as the purchase and current value, serial numbers, link other documents and URLs. So it's a great way to sort of have a centralized database of all of the assets belonging to your organization or under your organization's control. And then, of course, at its core, Roommate is for event scheduling. So these could be recurring events, single events. They can be very sophisticated in their recurring schedule, very simple. They can be in one room. They could be a spread of rooms at different dates and times. There's lots of information on the events that you can record. We also provide online calendars, and you can have as many as you'd like. So you could have a general calendar, ones for specific rooms or departments. So you might have something for a music ministry or a staff calendar or a volunteer schedule. And the nice thing about the online calendars is as soon as you make updates within CDM Plus Desktop in your roommate event schedule, those show up online. You don't have to create a new PDF or upload anything. Those are just automatically available directly on your site. And we'll take a look at some of these. Roommate at its heart is perhaps one of the most versatile programs in CDM Plus because you can think of anything as a room or a resource. Again, you've heard me say these could be people, these could be physical spaces. I've seen some really great creative uses for Roommate over the years. And so it's one of those things that you just think, I could track that in Roommate. I could make that happen in Roommate. And so kind of keep an open mind as we're going through and looking at how the software works. Here's a screenshot of the room records. And we can get into this in a demo here in a little bit. But you'll see, for example, I've got a description, a location. You can certainly track multiple campuses and so on, room numbers. There's a color coding system. You can record some notes and history on here. You can put the dimensions of the room and the maximum occupancy. A good theme that you can kind of carry as you're looking through Roommate is this is it's a centralized database. It's a place for you to build a knowledge store within your organization. So as people come on with your staff, as people leave, as folks shift and change, this is a great way for you to build that database of where your spaces are and what resources you have and the history behind them, so that if you need to, last time something was remodeled, or when was the last time we had a particular kind of, pest treatment or something, you can track all of this here in Roommate, and it's one centralized location. Resources, again, can be very versatile. I pulled out here an example of a microphone. So this is a case where we've categorized this resource under AV equipment. We've got 6 in here. We sort of put the serial number. And one thing that's great about resources is these link over to the user fields feature in CDM Plus. So for example, I've got a photo here. This was actually taken at the conference that we had last fall when I was teaching the Roommate class. So up front and close with this microphone. But if you have several different chairs and you're trying to figure out, okay, which chair is it? Is it the brown ones or the slightly different brown ones? You can grab photos and put them in here. But with user fields, you can also do things like link URLs and documents. So let's say you purchase a more expensive piece of equipment. Maybe you've got a new computer and there's a 2-year warranty that comes with it, and you want to put a copy of that documentation. You can upload and store that paperless directly with the resource. And so you've got that centralized in one location. So the question is, gosh, where would that be? The answer is, well, it's in Roommate. It's under the user fields for that resource. The event schedule, though, is kind of the heart of Roommate. And here's we'll get into this in more detail, but I can see all my different rooms. I can see departments, which are a way we can sort of break down and categorize different events. This is a month view. I'll show you some other views. This is highly customizable, so you can turn on different colors. You can customize what shows on each row. Really, this is, again, versatile and flexible design to sort of fit for your particular needs. This is the view that you would see in CDM Plus Desktop doing the administrative work. The same calendar is available on your website, and it looks something like this. So you can click into these. I'll show you this in a second, and you can see what the details on each of these events. So again, this is all just giving you a sense of kind of what Roommate is and how it looks. So what are some things that you can do with Roommate? Well, obviously, we've looked at a number of schedules. You can track calendars. This could be for your entire organization or for a particular department or room or a person. I mentioned before, you can certainly do scheduling and billing for rentals and events. There's the capability to check for conflicts and say, hey, this room is already booked. And either, are you sure you want to double book it? Or I'm sorry, we don't allow you to double book it. Conflict detection and resolution is something that you can control, for example, depending again on sort of your organization's needs. Roommate does provide some light asset tracking. So for insurance purposes, heaven forbid the worst came to pass and there was theft or fire or some other kind of destruction, flood to your property, being able to pull a centralized list to say, here are all the assets. This is when we purchased them. This is roughly what we paid. Here's the serial numbers and so on. If you've hopefully have never been a victim of theft, but being able to provide the authorities a list of here's everything we have with those serial numbers and so on is a fantastic resource to be able to pull up when the worst comes to pass. You can also do some basic depreciation tracking. You can certainly put in the purchase value, the current value. There's no sort of automatic, flat rate depreciation or anything like that, or posting to CDM Plus Ledger. But for tracking maybe just, again, sort of purchase and current price, you can absolutely do that. As I mentioned before, it's a centralized database for those warranties. For example, you may have certain resources like candles. So maybe you have services where you have small taper candles. Who do you order those from? You can link the resources in Roommate back to, say, vendors in accounting using the connections and say, this is the vendor that we purchased them from. And the last time we purchased, this was the date and this is what we paid. A lot of folks, just go to your email and find that sort of information. But if you have staff turnover, if there's a loss of some data somewhere in your email, this is a good centralized location to sort of have that authoritative list of this information. Let's say you have a particular specialized piece of equipment. So maybe you have a defibrillator and you need to have a link to a training process for your volunteers. You can just put the link in there. So you've got, where to go get the current training process for that particular piece of equipment or instructions for how to use it. And you can upload a full PDF or another document or just link to an online resource. And of course, Roommate, as this webinar is sort of focused on, is for facilities management. So you can track your rooms having different configurations. So maybe your room has a banquet configuration or a classroom configuration. Maybe you have different capacities based on how that room is set up. We can track when an event is going to be set up and torn down in addition to the duration, because it takes a little more time than the actual event itself to kind of use that space. You may want to have a place that says, here's where all of our resources are supposed to live. So over the summer, when things are maybe a little quieter, you're going to go through and do an inventory. So how many of those chairs and projectors and spare light bulbs and so on do we actually have? And you can track sort of where things are supposed to be and update that in CDM Plus. So if you're doing any sort of maintenance, kind of put a schedule on there to track that. So again, these are some examples. There's lots of different things you can do with Roommate. So today, I just want to give you a taste of how Roommate works. We're going to look at the event schedule, which is kind of that main workhorse. I'll show you the online calendar. We'll book a few events to show you what that process looks like. We'll see how those update online seamlessly. And then I've got a couple different reports I want to run that would be helpful maybe for your facility staff or just anyone in general to know what's going on. And then we'll finish up with a Q&A at the end. So first, Roommate, like I said, is a program in CDM Plus. You can get to it off the program menu. There's certainly a button here off of the Welcome to CDM Plus window that takes you into the Roommate settings and so on. Here I've got my Welcome to Roommate window, and we'll just dive right in and take a look at the event schedule. Within this view, I've got several different options here. All of my different rooms that I've defined are listed over on the left. And here I can see this is a month view. I've got departments that I can filter by. I'm currently showing everything. I can customize the sets of events that I like to look at. So for example, this is the full calendar, everything here ready to go. If it's very busy, that might be a lot to look at. So let's say, for example, I want to just turn off all these events, and let's just take a look at my classroom. So I'll turn on my classrooms over here on the side, and we'll see just the events that are happening in that classroom. So it looks like we've got an AA meeting going on Friday evenings. There's a pizza party happening here. And it looks like as we sort of wrapped up May, we finished a lot of our normal youth meetings. Within any of these days, I can click, for example, this sort of little triple stack hamburger menu and pull up an inspector, and I can see everything for that day. I can see who a contact is, the department, notes, resources, all that sort of information. If I want to filter this by department, I can turn on all my rooms, get back to the full calendar. And under departments, I've got several that I've defined. Again, these are user defined, so you create as many as you'd like. So let's go ahead and turn all of these off. And let's just take a look at the music calendar here. And we can see that we have some piano lessons, and then we've got, a children's event that's going on, choir practice, and then maybe a main choir practice listed here. If I like these different views and I want to switch between them easily, I've got an option up here that lets me move, for example, between here's everything going on in my classrooms, here's everything under the music ministry. I can easily jump back and forth between these different views, and I can always go back and show all. These are different views that we're able to have. I can certainly navigate back and forth between the different events or different time periods. So we go back to May. Things get a little bit busier in the month of May. I can always hit today and jump back to then. I can use a calendar to navigate to different dates. I can certainly search for an event if I'd like to down here. But we also have several other views. This is a whole month at a time, but I can also change to just look at what's going on this week. And right now, this is going Tuesday to Monday. If I want to take this from Monday to Sunday, just change this to display the 17th. And then here we are as we move through that week. If you, for example, are accustomed to working to several days at a time, you can configure the calendar view here to look at just 3 days at once or 7 days at once. We have a lot of capabilities for customizing how the event schedule looks. I'll show you that in just a second. We do have one more view here, which is the day view. And this kind of shows when things occur with a little bit of extra overlap for when those events have some setup and teardown time on them. I'll take this back here to the month view. As I mentioned, we have lots of preferences for configuring Roommate under my user preferences. I can certainly go in here and I can change all of the different items. So if I don't want to see the setup time, which are these items here, parentheses, I can take that off. So we'll just go ahead and drag these guys off here. I just want the space time. I get a little example. That looks good. Maybe I want the descriptions to show up in bold, and I can hit save, and that will then turn around and update my calendar for my particular view preferences. So this is the calendar within CDM Plus Desktop that we work off of. How would this look online? Well, let me go to my browser over here. And here's this general calendar. So if I look today here in June, I can click on the children's choir practice, pulls up details, and this will show me the event, location, description, room number, contact information. If I've got questions about it, kind of when that's occurring, setup and takedown time. I can browse throughout the different days. And just like on the calendar in CDM Plus Desktop, I have a week view, a day view, and I can sort of, click through and see all the different views here. This calendar, like I said, is showing the general calendar. You can also create separate calendars and focus these on just certain rooms and or departments. So I could have this on our main website, but maybe I have a page that's specific to our music ministry, and I've created a calendar here that just shows items that are specific to that music ministry department. So you can mix and match this again, however you would like, and have as many of these calendars as you need. So let's switch back to CDM Plus, and let's actually go ahead and book some events. So on this Friday, I can just double click in that open space, and that'll open up a window to schedule the event. I can also click a little plus there. And let's say, for example, we're having a barbershop quartet concert in our fellowship hall on Friday evening. And I could say this lasts for the whole day, or it just goes for certain times. And maybe this is running from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. They're going to be in there rehearsing from effectively 5 o'clock on. It doesn't take a whole lot of time to tear down, so we'll be done with this event by 9:30 p.m. Under my room, I can turn around and say, well, this is just going to be a small event here in our parlor. And I've defined different configurations. So the parlor, for example, might have a classroom or a reception. And let's go ahead and choose this reception space. Choose reception there. And when I click save, that asks me if I want to assign the resources. There's certain resources that reside in this room by default, the furniture, for example, and we'll say, yes, we're going to be using everything that's in that room. I can certainly further customize it to say I need additional microphones, or no, I don't need these tables, what have you. But that'll go ahead and schedule my barbershop quartet concert here on Friday. So I've got this set up here. Friday evening. And then maybe we're going to turn around and actually, let me do one more thing. I want to stick this in the music department. I forgot to do that. So go ahead and make a change here, and we'll add this to the music ministry department. And save. And then we might say, for example, the next day in the parlor, we're going to have sort of a small group meeting. So I'll go ahead and add a separate event here. And this is going to essentially be our fall festival planning. And we'll do this on Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon. There's no particular setup and teardown time. And then we'll do the parlor here, and that's going to be sort of the classroom format. And yes, we'll assign those same resources. So we've scheduled a couple of events on here. Let's take a look at kind of how that affected things online. So we can see these coming in on Friday and Saturday. And if I flip back to my online calendar, we'll go to the general calendar here, and let me just go forward here into June. And this is going to pull up our barbershop quartet concert. So without doing anything on my website, my event has shown up. It's there, ready to go. And then we can see that this fall festival planning is showing up here the next day on Saturday. The music calendar, for example, would just have that barbershop quartets because I put that under the music department, but we're not going to see that event on Saturday because that wasn't related to the music department. We can create let's do one more event, and we'll create a recurring event, for example. So let's say we're going to start over the summer. We're going to have sort of a staff lunch on Wednesdays. And I can go in here and I can say this is a staff lunch. And this runs from noon to 1 p.m. And this is going to be sort of in the conference room here. And I can recur this. I can do this every day. I can do this once a week. I can do it quarterly, annually. I have advanced options for when this appears. But we'll set this to happen weekly, and we'll have this go through the end of August. However, we happen to know that the 19th is Juneteenth, and we are closed that day. So let's say instead of recurring every day on Wednesday, I want to just not recur then, and we're going to do it on Thursday instead. So if I want to update and alter my schedule here, I can just click to add and remove on the days. And yep, we'll be using everything that's there. And this will go ahead and create everything for me starting on Wednesdays from the 5th. So we see our staff lunch here, but we don't see it here on the 19th. And it does show up, for example, on the 20th. And as you go through and make updates to the recurring event, we'll see those happen. So with these, there's lots and lots of reports we can run in Roommate. So that's just a quick demo of scheduling some events. I'm going to pull up a event listing report. So I'll go to Roommate reports and pull up this event custom listing. And I've set up a couple different reports in here. And this may be something I want to give to my facilities team so they know what's going on during the week and how to prepare and set up events. So for example, first thing I've got is a event by date. And let me go ahead and blow this up here a little bit. So here we can see I've got each of the days configured. So here's June 17th, and here's the 18th and the 19th, and so on and so forth. And I've got all the description of the event, the times, the rooms. I can see the resources. So this might be something I could hand off and say, okay, what's happening today in our facility? And I can post this report up, and that will show me everything that's going on there. But maybe it would be more helpful to say we're going to post something inside of each room to list the events that are happening this week within that room. So I've got a different listing set up here, which is the event listing by room. Let me go ahead and load this up, and I'll show you how that one looks. So instead of going by date, now we have things listed out by the room and then sequentially by date. So in the parlor, we can see that I've got on the 19th, I've got this Ruth Circle group. My quartet concert is on the 21st, and it needs to use the reception configuration. And then on the 22nd, I've got the classroom configuration listed on here. And then here's the assistant pastor's office, so on and so forth. So this is something you could turn around and give to your staff to say, this is how we want to set up these rooms. And a small plug, if you want to learn more about the custom listing engine, how to sort and how to search and format and save and load sets and so on, that's actually a new class that we're rolling out this fall at the conference, which is all about doing searches and custom listings and really digging into the reporting here. There's lots of ways you can slice and dice this. If you are using Roommate or going to use Roommate, one small tip here, I would highly recommend on this event listing, you stick with this instance date. This is the field that will show you, for example, on recurring events, the actual occurrence of it. So if you've been confused by that, that's one little tip that would help people out there. There's lots more to Roommate, but I hope that gives you kind of a sense of how to use the software, what it's capable of doing, and just a little taste of kind of Roommate itself. So at this point, we will go ahead and open up for questions.
There's one in the chat. It says, can you show the monthly report for facilities?
Monthly report for facilities. Absolutely. Let me go back to my screen here. So if I wanted to look at a monthly report, we certainly have monthly calendars here. So you can do, again, customize which events show. I've got these various views for classrooms, music ministry, that sort of thing. Let me go ahead and we'll just run it for the current month and take a look at how that appears. With the monthly report, you've got pretty quickly, you're going to run into the limitations of your paper. So this one we've got set up to show we can maybe get 2 or 3 events in there. There's a legend that kind of color codes things out. If you change this to say a legal sheet of paper, or you had something that could print on a tabloid, 11 by 17, you can get really big with it. So this will automatically adjust to fill that space. I've got different options on here in terms of which events I might want to call out or feature. Is there any note section, color coding, and so on to make that sure that prints really well. So this is a good monthly calendar. If you were looking, and again, you can sort of customize how these appear. I had some settings up a minute ago for how the event schedule looks. There is a separate option on here for the monthly calendar, and you can customize the format there separately. So when it's printed, so if you want to be a little more terse with your information. So yeah, you can certainly print out a calendar, no problem.
Sheila, do you have another question?
My question is reference to the inventory with the assets.
Yes.
Can you show me how that with the inventory with the asset, do you have a scanner where we can scan the assets in, or once we do, just trying to see how to set that up, because we're in the process of doing some inventory and we can go ahead and set that up as well.
Sure. So those would be under the resource records. So, that's under program and Roommate. You've got your resource records here. So it's your standard resource or a record view. You can, search and find and list everything. If you're doing a multi-add, you can certainly type in a description, quantity. If you had serial numbers, for example, if you had a scanner that connected to your computer like a keyboard, it would certainly type it in there. You can, under the user fields, if you want to add photos, this is where you would go in and click to add a user field, and we can choose a photo. And then here it's going to prompt you to load up that photo from your computer at that point. Depreciation, I think some folks might be curious about that. There's a purchase price and a current price. You can fill in here, and the data was purchased. So you can certainly just put that. Let's say you wanted to actually record some sort of schedule and an end of life date, and you could have sort of what fixed asset number you had in your chart of accounts. And this is all just, there's nothing that really posts directly to your ledger, but for a central place to record all this information, you can certainly do it here and then run a report periodically to do those calculations. If you're doing bulk entry, I'd recommend you actually could work off of the grid, and you could go to add, I'm going to put 8 in here, and then I can just go in here and I can start typing, asset 1, and then I've got asset 2, and just do a bulk entry that way. So you'd have that option as well.
Can we import, say for instance, we already have our database. Can we import that in? Would it allow us to set up, I see right here that it has different fields. Will it be able to allow us to set up our own fields and do an import?
There's not a sort of a user-facing import, but we could definitely help you with that import. So if you wanted to sort of migrate over,
Right.
data conversion person that can absolutely work with you on that.
Okay.
There's a small fee for it. It really just kind of depends on how complicated it is. But for
Okay.
us, if you got a Excel spreadsheet or some other software that's like, here's all our assets, we got serial numbers, we got date purchase, and then like I said, those user fields, as many different data points you want to record, we can get that set up and imported for you.
Awesome. Okay. And then I saw somewhere you had the asset because most of ours are labeled with the asset numbers.
Mhm.
And I thought I saw something you had with asset.
Yeah. So I had created sort of a user field set here just to record some depreciation information. So let's say,
Mhm.
for example, I keep this over in my 1810 account. This is just a place to record those assets. You could then turn around and run a resource custom listing that might show those assets for you with the various resources, their current values. Again, you would need to go and create ledger entries for these. There's nothing that kind of does an automatic posting, but this would let you record them together.
Okay, that's under the depreciation. But if like for all of those the descriptions and the quantities, and then we have each one with the asset number
Right.
listed
Yeah.
per room or however we have it set up, we can have that sent to you guys and it would would that be
Yes.
under resources?
Yeah, so resources is where we would track all of this. So if you have some sort of like identifying number on here, so maybe
Right.
this is like an asset code or something like that,
Right.
code number, I can just create a new field for that and say, yep,
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering.
yeah. And
Okay.
this is this is something like nope, hang on, get my asset in there. And we want to make this something like F3007.
Right.
Probably got
Hmm.
a good coding system for that. So yeah, absolutely, you can record that in there, no problem.
Okay, awesome. We'll just create a defined field for that basically, right?
Absolutely, you got it.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Alex, Sue was actually kind of related, was asking if you could talk a little bit about asset reports.
Yeah, so again, this is just kind of recording the actual value here, but let me go ahead and show you how we might set up a report for these. So I can create a resources custom listing and export. And we're going to go ahead and we'll just choose all of our different types. We don't have to limit. We can just choose everything in here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to add a new set. And this is maybe sort of like, asset report. And on this set, we want to add certainly the description of the resource. Maybe we want to put the quantity or something or the purchase price. But then under this depreciation, I can add the fixed asset number that I've been recording here. So when I go in and let's refresh this and we'll take off blank lines and so on. And now I can see, for example, the metal folding chairs, those are asset 1800, microphone is 1810. So if I wanted to, for example, put a current price in here, let's go add our current price. And then maybe I want to subtotal by that asset number. So I've got my fixed asset number here and I want to subtotal that way. And I can refresh this. So now I can see my current price, and there's no asset on here is the first one, but I can see asset 1800, current price totals out to 6, then 1810, it's maybe 40. Again, however you'd like to slice and dice and rearrange and report this information, certainly kick it out to Excel or a CSV and then analyze it from there. I see a question from Sheila. Can you run the report by rooms? Absolutely. Yeah. So you could run this report. So if you wanted to say, I just want to limit those where the default location is a certain area, you can certainly do that. We should be able to query off of the default location for the resource. I didn't really highlight that too much, but let's look here at the default locations. Let's say these beige folding chairs, we tend to have 150 of them here in Fellowship Hall. We have 100 in the gym. We got 100 in the choir room. So I want to find everything that resides, for example, in Fellowship Hall. I can go and look for Fellowship Hall, and this will find all my resources that have sort of a default location in Fellowship Hall. And that's going to give me my chairs and tables, and then I can turn around and run my report from there. And then certainly any of your events, listings, and so on, you can subtotal by rooms. Go back to my resources here, and this will just show me all of the resources that reside in Fellowship Hall. You're very welcome. Probably want to turn off the subtotal here and do it by description. So there we go. That's everything that should be in that Fellowship Hall. And if you're running a report of rooms, we do have a field available here that will show you all of those default assets. So here I've got all my rooms. We'll go ahead and select all those guys. Let's create a set. So this is going to be room inventory. And I'm going to turn around and put the room description on here, and this will give me the location and so on. And I can refresh that out and give me a list of the rooms. So we got the reports on rooms, resources, events, pretty much anything you're looking for there.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, my last question, I promise.
No worries.
Who do we contact for the importing?
I'd start by reaching out to our sales team. So you can just email sales@cdmplus.com. Or if you want, you can just go on to our website here, and in the top right, there's a contact link. Lets you contact sales. So we go here to contact sales and just say, hi, I'm Sheila. This is the location I'm with, and I would like to learn more about Roommate doing imports. Eli's got a chat there. So he'll get you connected, and he'll get you connected with our data conversion specialist, who is Christy. And Christy will be happy to work with you. She'll look at the data you have today, kind of how that's structured, how you're using it. We'll do the import and then show you where that ended up in CDM Plus.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. All right. Well, unless there's any other questions, like I said, we'll stick around, be happy to answer them. But if not, I wish you all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday and a great rest of your week. And come back and see us next month at our Discover CDM Plus webinar. We will be talking about CDM Plus Mobile and showing you some of the great things you can do with that app. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful day.